Alarms do not lie, and mine was screaming that something impossible was floating dead ahead of us. My name is Nadia, and I am a scanner officer on the research ship Silver Current. We were 11 light-years from any friendly star, in a patch of space so empty that pilots call it the grave, when my board lit up with a warning I had never seen before. A vessel, massive, cold, powerless, and yet it was sitting perfectly still, as if something had parked it there on purpose. "Talk to me, Nadia," said my captain, a tall, calm man named Owen, who never raised his voice even when the universe gave him every reason to. "Unknown hull, sir. No drive signature, no reactor heat, no power of any kind." My hands were already moving across the controls, running the same scan 3 times, because I did not believe the first result. By every reading I have, that ship should not be able to move at all. Then how did it get out here? I had no answer. Nobody did. The ship was human. We could tell that much from the shape of its hull and the strange written symbols along its side, symbols we had learned to recognize as the language of Earth. But no human ship should have been able to reach the grave without a drive. There was nothing to ride out here. No current, no wind, no gravity lane, just cold and silence and distance. Owen made the call fast, the way good captains do. "Boarding team, small group. I want answers, not risks." I volunteered before he finished the sentence. Curiosity has always been my weakness. We crossed the gap in a shuttle no bigger than a closet, and when the airlock hissed open, the smell hit me first. Metal, old oil, and something else. Something almost sweet, like frost on a window in early morning. The lights inside the ship were barely alive, just a thin red line along the floor, enough to walk by and nothing more. We found her in the front section, strapped into a chair, wrapped in blankets that looked like they had been layered again and again to fight off the cold. Her lips were pale, her hands were shaking, but her eyes opened the second our light touched her face. Not slowly, not weakly, immediately, like she had been waiting. "Took you long enough," she said, her voice rough from disuse. Her name, we would later learn, was Grace. Chief engineer of a ship called the Endurance, a name that suddenly felt less like a title and more like a warning. Owen stepped forward, keeping his tone gentle despite the tension in the room. "Your ship has no engine, no power source we can detect. How did you arrive here?" Grace laughed, and the laugh turned into a cough that shook her whole body. "She has no engine because I took it out myself. 3 weeks ago, the core was failing, and a ship this size does not survive a full failure. I pulled it before it could kill us both. Then you drifted here, without power." "I said no drive," Grace corrected, lifting one shaking finger. "I did not say no power. There is a difference, and that difference is the only reason I am still breathing." I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature of the ship. "Explain," Owen said, his voice sharper now. Grace looked past us, toward the frosted window, toward the 2 dead stars hanging outside like burnt-out eyes watching everything. "You found a ship with no engine, sitting exactly where no ship should be able to sit, and you are wondering how it is going to move again. That is the right question. You are just a little late asking it." My pulse jumped. "Late?" "I already made it move," she said. "About 4 minutes ago, if my timing held." Nobody spoke. The silence in that frozen cabin felt heavier than the cold. "You had no engine," Owen said slowly. "No power to spare. How could you possibly move a ship this size?" Grace's smile was thin, but it held something fierce behind it, something that made me believe every word she was about to say. "Old trick. Before proper drives, ships use something called a solar sail, a giant thin mirror that catches the push of starlight and rides it, slow but steady. Nobody serious uses that anymore, not for real travel. But I was not trying to travel. I was trying to be found." She waved weakly toward a panel where numbers blinked, using barely any power at all, a fraction of what a working system should need. No engine means no signature for anything dangerous to lock onto. It also means I have nothing to steer with, and I am sitting in a stretch of space that no sane crew would ever choose to search. So I decided to give you a reason to search it anyway. The frost, I said before I could stop myself. Every eye in the room turned toward me, but I had already noticed it during the scan. The frost across the inner walls was not random. It followed a pattern, a shape, something built. There it is, Grace said, nodding toward me like a teacher pleased with a clever student. Every drop of water I could spare, I sprayed onto the hull and the walls in a careful pattern, then let it freeze, while what little starlight reaches this place hit it at a slow, steady angle for 3 straight weeks. Ice does not just sit there once it is shaped right. It scatters light in a pattern, not a broadcast. I had no power for that. A shape instead. Something strange enough that any decent sensor sweep would flag it and come take a closer look. Owen's eyes widened as the pieces connected. You built your ship into a mirror, so that when a scan hit it, it would throw back something unnatural. A shape that only becomes visible once someone gets close enough to actually study it. And you studied it, Grace said, glancing toward a small clock resting near her hand, the only other device drawing power in the whole dead ship. Which means right now, your scanner should be reading something very interesting happening on my hull. I looked down at my own device out of pure instinct. The temperature readings across the outer plating were shifting fast, not from any engine, from the ice itself, releasing energy in bursts that were far too precise to be an accident. I understood then, with a mix of fear and awe I had never felt before, that the pattern had been built to react the moment it received enough focused energy. Energy like the full sweep of a scan from a curious ship parked close beside it. Outside, thin jets of vapor burst from the hull of the Endurance in short, careful, uneven bursts. Not an explosion, not a system failure. Thrust. Small, crude, laughably weak thrust, created purely from ice turning into gas at exactly the angles Grace had shaped it to release at. The ship with no engine was turning, slowly, deliberately, aiming itself with quiet purpose. Aiming its last working transmitter straight at our ship. There it is, Grace whispered, closing her eyes, more from exhaustion now than from fear. This is the independent research vessel Endurance, 3 weeks adrift, 1 crew member alive, requesting rescue. Her mouth twitched into something close to a smile, and kindly requesting you do not damage the ship that just used your own scan to power itself back to life. No one on our team said a single word. The silence stretched until Owen finally broke it, and I will remember the weight in his voice for the rest of my life. You had no engine, he said. No power to spare. No way to call for help. Drifting alone in a place where nothing survives, and your answer was to turn ice and starlight and our own curiosity into a weapon for your rescue. I was not going to sit here and simply wait to die, Grace said, and there was something light in the way she said it, almost amused, as if the whole situation had annoyed her more than frightened her. If I could not move my ship, then I decided I would move yours instead. We carried her aboard the Silver Current within the hour, wrapped in 3 warm blankets, drinking something hot that she complained tasted like melted metal, laughing weakly between each shaking sip. Her ship, the engineless Endurance, now hangs behind us on a tow line, its strange frosted pattern still faintly visible along the hull, dull now, its one great trick already spent. I find myself unable to stop staring at it. I have studied many lost ships in my career. Most of them were exactly what they appeared to be, cold metal shells holding nothing but silence and failure. This one was different. This one was built by a woman with no engine, no power, and only 3 weeks before the cold would take her, who decided instead to make the entire universe come looking for her. I am recommending, in my official report, that we stop assuming a ship without an engine has no way of reaching us. Sometimes the smartest ships are the quiet ones, waiting patiently for someone to notice the pattern hidden in the frost.